The Treaty of Versailles was one of the most important treaties that would end World War I and initiate World War II. It would end the state of war between Germany and the Allied powers. It was signed on June 28, 1919 in Versailles. However, the actual fight did not end until November 11, 1918, when the armistice was signed. The Allied powers would soon meet at the Paris Peace Conference to negotiate the provisions the peace treaty would have on Germany. The treaty was finally put into action on October 21, 1919 by the League of Nations. The most important provision required Germany to accept, quote unquote, the responsibility of Germany and the Allies for causing all the loss and damage during the war. This provision would be known as the War of Guilt Clause. The Paris Peace Conference was held on January 1919 to hold peace after World War I. It would be dominated by the Big Three: David Lloyd George, who represented Britain, Georges Clemenceau, who represented France, and Woodrow Wilson, who represented the US. The Big Three wanted different ways to punish Germany. They reflected on how their countries were treated in the war until they compromised an agreement. This, however, was very difficult because Wilson opposed for harsh punishments on Germany. He wanted to prevent a further war, so he created the League of Nations based on his 14 points to assure Germany was stabilized. Clemenceau, however, was the opposite. He wanted to punish Germany. To do this, he wanted them to give back the territory they obtained to France. He also wanted them to pay back huge reparations from the war, and he also limited the size of their army to prevent them from attacking France ever again. George, however, was in between. He wanted to punish Germany to the point where people were satisfied with their punishment, but also wanted to leave Germany strong enough to trade.
The political cartoon is depicting the Allied powers forcing Germany to sign the Treaty of Versailles.
How Germany was affected. Germany lost many territory. Some were given back to places such as France, Belgium, and Denmark. West Prussia, including the Polish corridor, was given back to Poland. Overall, Germany lost 10% of their land, 12% of their population, 16% of their coal fields, and half of its iron and steel industry. In the photo, it shows the different territories Germany lost and had to split between the different ruling countries. How Germany was affected continued. Germany's forces were reduced to a size where they weren't seen as a threat, and also saw that they could not endanger the countries round about. The treaty also excluded Germany from the League of Nations. Lloyd George of England, Orlando of Italy, Clements of France, and Woodrow Wilson of the United States. In the political cartoon, the gap between Belgium, France, England, and Italy represents Germany not being part of the League of Nations. How Germany was affected continued. Germany's economy. The loss of Saar reduced Germany's industrial strength. The loss of West Prussia took away Germany's richest farming lands. Germany had to pay for all the damages of the war. After World War I, Germany suffered from inflation, and by the end of 1924, inflation had been taken under control and the economy began to improve. This ruined Germany's economy, and between paying off the damages for the war and losing a lot, it led to the hyperinflation of 1923. In the graph, by 1928, unemployment had fallen to 8.4% of the workforce, and by 1932, it had reached 30%.
The Treaty of Versailles was meant to create an everlasting peace between countries. However, it ultimately failed for many reasons. Among these were the fact that the Allied powers could not come to an agreement on the punishment for Germany, and when the Germans saw the consequences from this treaty, they immediately refused to sign because Germany had to pay about $8,620,722,000 in total war damages. As a result, the treaty was revised year after year to create a compromise with the Germans that eventually failed. Although the Treaty of Versailles brought triumph to the Allied powers, for Germany it was a tragedy for the country in all aspects that led to World War II.